Hello and welcome back to another special edition of Talking Quack and Smack with TC Duck Club. I'm Skylar Ray.
I'm Keith Talbert.
I'm Will Moseley.
I'm Tofield Bourgeois.
Don't ask me how to spell that, but you need to figure it out. We're down here at Bourgeois Charters, and the place is unbelievable. We had some high expectations because we booked this trip through Ducks Unlimited. We wanted that Ducks Unlimited event in Northeast Alabama, and I never really heard of Bourgeois Charters, but I knew it'd be top notch because of having affiliation with Ducks Unlimited. But let me tell you something. If you want great fishing, great food, great hospitality, it doesn't get any better than Bourgeois Charters. Been a lot of places, and your ladies at the kitchen staff, I'm trying to figure out how to pack them in the suitcase. Just kidnap them.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for all the kind words, man. I try to surround ourselves with a good team. You know, someone who, when I walk away, I know that they're carrying the standards that we want here. So it means a lot for you to say that.
Well, you know, we showed up. We showed up a little bit late. We had to stop and get some things on the way down. Somebody forgot their sunglasses, so you can't go fishing without your sunglasses.
No, I don't recommend it.
The tour manager wasn't here to hold his hand, so he.
Oh man!
But anyway, so we stopped, and you know, of course, looking at us, you know, you can tell we couldn't go much over 50 miles without having to stop at a convenience store or Chick-fil-A or somewhere and get something to eat on the way down. But anyway, when we got here, our food was sitting on like in a warmer. We had a great meal when we got here, and I'm thinking, golly, man, this is unreal. And I mean, it was just unbelievable Cajun cuisine the first night, and then the next morning at breakfast, I'm trying to figure out how I can like call in sick and not go fishing and stay in
the kitchen,
hang out and recipe test.
Yeah, it's really a awesome setup that they got here, and again, the guide yesterday was awesome. We fought cold weather and rough water and 30 mile an hour winds. I mean, it was not your ideal. I guess you would say conditions.
Not at all.
But, I mean, we still got on the fish.
Yeah, Captain Josh, man, he hooked us up yesterday. I mean, we tried. He had two good spots that he really wanted to put us on some fish, and, they didn't turn out anything. And we had a nice sandwich on the boat. I mean, and then a snack, whatever. And then we was like, hey, man, because we was having fun. We wasn't at work, man. We were having a blast. He said, hey, guys, I got one more spot. Let's go. And we wasn't there 10 minutes, and Will hooked up. And, of course, it wasn't a keeper. And then he hooked up again, and it was a keeper. And then me and you doubled up. And then I think you let Ryan finish winding him in for us. But we doubled up right there at the end. And I hung one and lost one, but it was probably a world record.
I probably missed more fish. Well, I know I missed more fish than what I caught, but
no, the guide was top notch. I mean, the boats first class. I mean, everything here. And we're not skinny guys. Us three aren't. And
hey, man, come on, y'all look great.
Yeah, but
I'm not real big for my size.
Peak physical condition.
Well, no doubt, right? Round is a shape, so we're in shape.
You're damn
shape.
right.
And so, but we come in. We had black and catfish gumbo. Thank you for gumbo. Gosh almighty, the Cajun cuisine was just top notch. And like you said, these ladies. You can't go back to, like you mentioned, having a full quality staff all the way around. Your guides are spectacular. Right. Your kitchen staff's phenomenal.
Thanks, I agree.
Your accommodations are off the chart. I mean, everything here, because we live on the lake too.
Yeah.
And we made comment last night, man, if our fishing guides, if there was one spot like this on our lake, man, these guys would just be, killing it.
Yeah.
This is high quality accommodations, 5-star without a doubt.
Well, if we had a fishing spot like this, they would have to go somewhere other than here to fish, because my old boy is like, he's like raising just a Tasmanian devil. He'd be jumping off the top of the roof over here, so there wouldn't be any fish around this particular dock. They'd be fishing the lake, and it would be awesome to have something like this around the house. But you talk about accommodations and give us the backstory of how you kind of, fall into being a full-time guide.
You got it. So my mom and dad started this when I was younger than you. Like I said, as long as I remember, my parents were building this up. So it all started with my dad in one boat, fishing out of a marina down here, and very quickly turned into, we had this duck hunting camp about 10 miles south of here.
Hold on now.
Yeah. So we were big duck hunters.
Y'all speaking our language.
We were big duck hunters growing up, but as things changed, we just don't have the birds like we used to. So, and my dad was the gears were turning on this charter industry. You know, when he got into it, there was, I want to say like 67 guides in the state of Louisiana. And now there's, God, I don't even know how many just in the town of Lafitte. You know, so we started, every weekend was spent building that camp into the first iteration of what you see here at the lodge. And it was, man, it was so cool. Like, we stripped it from, when I tell you it was a camp, it was rough. And my dad's a carpenter, you know, at the time, his whole life, he was always into carpentry. And that's a lot of what has been passed down on me, and why you see all the woodwork here in this building, the lodge, everything. So turn that camp into this bed and breakfast. He called it the Cajun Chalet. So it was only generator power, off grid. So when we went, we would bring a chef, all your captains would stay. We'd have like 420 quart coolers of groceries and ice and everything you needed, because there was no store, right? So my summers were spent deckhanding out there, cutting the grass, getting tore up by mosquitoes and sandflies, and helping load these heavy ice chests and stuff. But it was fun, man, because like in the downtime, I'd either go with my dad and deckhand fishing, or I'd sit back and BS with the chefs who was at the time, my Uncle LJ and this guy Mike, who had a camp next door. So I would just like BS with them while they just like open up to me. They drinking Coors Light, telling me stuff they probably shouldn't be telling. You know, I'm learning about life through these guys.
Going to school.
Oh yeah.
In school.
Oh yeah.
Education in the summer.
Oh man, and in the evenings, like the guys would be gambling. You know, and then my Uncle LJ loved playing poker, so he'd have the poker set, and he would just brag about if he could win any money off these guys. You know, that was the thing. Like, I won $50 last night. I'm like, oh yeah, all right. So anyway, so that's where it all started, and that was probably, let's say, a good 10 years of that operation. My dad building it, and then, you know, acquiring a few more guides, captains who aligned themselves with him. Then the operation grew, and as that was growing, you know, the gears were always turning, you know, in that growth mindset, and say, well, what's next? And he was always looking for property around here, because we actually lived in the next town over.
Okay.
But we spent most of our time down here. So anyway, this place came available, and this was the schoolhouse for our community. So we're in the town of Jean Lafitte, but when you cross that bridge right back here, you're on the island of Barataria, which actually is, you know, so Jean Lafitte's whole smuggling empire was called Barataria. Like, so you got Barataria Bay out here. This is Barataria. It's rumored to be, you know, the home of his smuggling empire. So a lot of this area, there's a lot of history to it. The unfortunate thing is that, you know, if you go further north away from this marshland, there's archaeologists can uncover the history, because it's buried in mud. You know, you can dig and see old cannonballs and arrowheads and what have you, you know. But here our history is just silt, so it's just washed away. So there's so much history it's probably lost.
Right.
But anyway, so this was our schoolhouse. This was kindergarten through 8th grade, the lodge. And it was built in the early 1900s. And in the 40s, it was moved to this location. I'm not actually sure where the original location, but it wasn't as big as it is now. In the 40s, they built it on 9 different slabs. So as the community grew, the building grew. And in the mid 50s, they actually elevated it and made a second story. And the school operated until the mid 80s. Mid 80s, we opened up the school across the Bayou. And then this closed down, and this was just kind of gutted and left abandoned until it was 2001 when my parents bought this. So this was just the bones of this place. It wasn't in bad shape, but it wasn't in great shape, but the bones were good, right? And it was all true dimensional cypress lumber. So again, my dad being the carpenter and the resourceful person he was, you know, him and every able-bodied cousin I had and relatives, like that was our job. Like, he'd pay us cash to just work. He wouldn't pay me. I ate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, you got to sleep inside.
Yeah. Once I got old enough, he started paying me. But a lot of it was like, you ate today? You know, that's the same thing, whatever. But yeah, so slowly built this into, we actually lived in the upstairs half and put 4 rooms upstairs. And there was a trailer behind the place that we turned into a little lodge. So it was like, as he could just house guests in this trailer. And then we slowly built the downstairs and the kitchen. And then, so I would say all through the 2010s, let's see, he passed away in 2019. And at the time, like I had a tattoo shop in the city. I play music. I've been a licensed guide since 2009. But that was like my weekend gig. It wasn't my main thing. You know, I would just like, if he needed a hand, you know, I always like fishing for myself a little more.
Yep.
And I also feel like if you're not guiding constantly, the confidence doesn't feel there. And I hate to like take people's money if I don't feel confident. You know what I mean? So my guys out here are the guys, you know? So anyway, so he passes away and suddenly I'm thrown into, man, like, what am I going to do? Well, the decision was pretty simple for me. I sold my tattoo shop because I didn't want to just let all his life work and my childhood just go to waste. You know, like I grew up in this. So it was this kind of crazy moment of this sense of like your pride was kind of hurt in a way where I'll never forget this, man. Like I built my career as a tattooer and as a musician from nothing. Like I didn't, you know, my dad wasn't a tattooer or a musician. And you couldn't, even if your dad is, like, you can't learn to do that overnight, regardless of who you know. It takes the time. You got to put in the hours. And that's like in anything. But I remember just having this immense, like, I don't feel like I've earned this, you know, and this guilt that my dad passed away. And suddenly I'm, you know, taking over this whole legacy. And then fast forward to COVID comes, like 3 months after he passes away. And it just completely wipes off our whole books for the next year. It just as I was starting to say, okay, like I'm gonna make a go at it. This is our first spring season with me running the show. Like, here we go. Whole year is just gone.
God's got a funny sense of humor, right?
Very. And so that, like, that was the thing. I kept saying, I don't feel like I've earned this. I just kept putting that out there. And I think God was like, oh, really? Well, here you go. Here's as much earning as you could possibly stand. And I thank him for it, man. I really do, because I never once like felt sorry for myself. Did I become over all these hurdles? Because it was COVID, then it was a hurricane that gave us damage enough to ruin our fall season. So the spring season COVID killed. As COVID restrictions are lifting, the fall season got hit with this hurricane. This whole back balcony was completely torn off, like a little tornado spun up and slammed it on that whole brick courtyard.
Wow.
So we lost our fall season. Then the following spring, we had a decent spring season. Come August, the following hurricane season, we had Hurricane Ida, which gave us 5 foot of water. This whole town was completely wiped out, like inundated. The bridge the only access to this island was wiped out. The bridge was broken. There was no way to get on this side unless you had a boat to get across. This place had 5 foot of water in it, nearly 6 foot of water in it. Was left with a foot of sludge mud, just marsh mud all over.
Wow.
This bayou, so the marshland is so fragile, you got what's called flotant. So floating land is what it means. And all the marsh grass you see out there, it's only about 4 foot of mud floating out there. And it just holds together. But this storm broke it up so much so, and I'll send you pictures of this. This bayou, you could walk across. It was so chock full of all this displaced marsh. A lot of that was in the lodge. Have y'all seen that slideshow playing on side of the TV?
Yes.
I keep that there so people can see, to really appreciate. Because if you walk in, you say, oh, this place is beautiful. But it was almost just 2 years ago that we opened back up, you know, from this. So anyway, so that was God's test. And I guess, you know, my prayers my unintentional prayers were answered. But it's kind of like that Garth Brooks song, you know. Is it Garth Brooks? Unanswered prayers, right? Like, so it's kind of like this crazy thing. You're like, I thought you wanted this, but there's this quote that I'll never forget. I loved. JFK said that we should ask not to have easier lives, but to be stronger men.
That's right.
And that was the thing that just was like, all right, well, this is going to build the character that it's going to tap into strength that I never even knew I would have. And I wouldn't have had I not been tested in this way, you know? So we built back, man, and it was,
but it gave you a chance to have some claim to it instead
100%.
Of riding my dad's coattail. Yeah, my dad built this, but now, hey, it's now my brand.
Yep.
And I've owned it and I've rebuilt it. You know, hey, we went through COVID, we went through a hurricane, but now everything here is my hard work.
Yeah, it is very, it's extremely surreal, you know, and it's still, he's been gone over 5 years and you still, you know, we have the same name,
Sure.
Tofield
That's
Bourgeois,
awesome.
I'm the fourth. So there's still this part of me, and like a big part of the operation is putting myself out there in different things like this, and I have companies that I work with, so there's an obligation to be a public persona. So even sometimes I find myself like kind of having this strange feeling when I even just say my name, like, hey, it's Captain Tofield Bourgeois, because it's like, God, that's so crazy, because that is me, but that's my dad at the same, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And it's like, I'm very proud of it, but there is still such, I don't think you ever kind of get over the fact that they're gone, and that, like, I'm very happy to have carried on, and I'd love to see, I wish he could see what we've done with the place, and I hope he does. But you're right. It does give you the sweat equity and the ownership of this place, because, was it not for this storm, we've made so many improvements to the place. And then 3 months after that storm hit, we started this elevation project, because it was on the ground when the storm hit. So there's a federal program that if you flood enough times and you have flood insurance, they put you in the program to lift your building. So this building got lifted by that program. So thank y'all for your tax dollars. It's like actually seeing your tax dollars at work. But
I can't think of anything else I'd rather spend them.
That's exactly right.
Well, thanks, man. But no, it was really, really a surreal. So it became, again, another part of that hurdle. And it was like, man, we had this storm. And just as we're coming back to, we're thinking we made all this progress. We had, everything was stripped out. I had rock on the walls. We ran the electrical, the plumbing, everything. In the elevation, they had been tunneling under the lodge for about 3 months. And I'll never forget the day of lift. The guys come, they've got TV crews. This is like the biggest project they've ever done. Interviewing me, interviewing the contractor and all this stuff. And they start lifting it, and I'm in the cabinet shop working on the kitchen cabinets in the lodge, and I'm looking at the building slowly rise, which is so cool. I'm just like, it's finally here, right? And then after, it's very slow, so then it became boring. So I got hungry. I went down the street. My house is right down the street. I went and grabbed a sandwich. Dude calls me, and he's like, hey, man, I need you to come over here. The slab failed. And I'm like, I can't even compute. What is that? What? Like, no, are you messing with me? He's like, I wish I was. So I come over here, and I'm like, the way you phrase that, the slab failed. What the hell does that mean? So I come here, dude, and it's cracked all over. The dining room where we were just at, it had gone up 8 inches, and then the slab starts cracking. So there's a crack all the way down the middle of the dining room, the whole everything. So now it's like, what do we do now? So they've got to get engineers back into the place, figure out what they're going to do. And I'm hot at this point, because they came when this all started and did a test dig and x-rayed to make sure the foundation could go up. 100%. So I'm kind of hot about this, and he can't give me a good answer. So I'm like, okay, well, this is all right. Well, just figure out what you got to do now. But in my mind, it's like, all right, man, here is another hurdle. There's another opportunity. And what I had to learn through all of that was, here's another opportunity to practice patience, because I had ample opportunities to lose my cool, to feel sorry for myself. Why is this happening to me? Why is life always, you see that so much. So many people are like that victim mentality, instead of using it as like, oh, here's a gym. Here's the mental gym. Like, I can get some reps in. Like, let's get some reps in, because if not, the alternative, I'm going to die from it. Like, the stress is going to kill me. That negative mentality is going to kill me. It's going to stifle every positive thing that could come out of this. So I had to develop this like radical gratitude and this radical mindset shift through all of this. Is like, where's the silver lining? What's the silver lining in every situation? And what example can I set for others around me, for my sons, more importantly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I seen this thing one time. It was talking about, be careful what you ask God for.
Yeah.
Because you're asking for patience, or to be tough, or it's like, it's not like, all right, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Here's you some toughness. Here's you some patience. It's like, all right, here's you 5 situations where you're at the end of the 5th one, you're going to be stronger.
Yes.
He's going to light the fire. Okay, you want to be tested. Here's some fire. We'll hit you with fire.
Here's your 5 things. When you make it through the end of it, you're going to learn patience.
That's right.
Yeah, it comes through suffering and adversity, dude. And yeah, so we had all this stuff, all this progress had been made, right? Like I said, the walls were closed in. So the plan, what they had to do then, was cut the entire building, the entire structure from the slab. But then they had to, about every 8 foot, cut through the wall of the building. So anywhere, whatever was in the way, because they were going to put I-beams. They put beams. You saw the video of me walking through the beams with no floor in the building. So they put a grid pattern of I-beams through the entire building and raised it from the walls. So everywhere there was a 4x4 square they would cut out of the wall to pass these beams through. I don't know why 4x4, like they gave themselves a lot of wiggle room. You know what I mean? So anyway, but that was again, like kind of this, okay, where's the silver lining in this? And what I realized was the silver lining was that we had flooded and had to gut this again. Because think if this elevation had started had we not flooded. The lodge is just pristine. Then they're tearing through the walls. So we were kind of like, we had already tore the place apart. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. And they paid for what they had to redo. So it was all good. It was just a setback, you know. But yeah, I mean, it took 2 years to get this place built back from Hurricane Ida. And we were just coming out of a hole from COVID, Hurricane Ida, the elevation and all this, to where it's like, it really gave me a great perspective to maintain that small problems that might fluster other people are small problems, you know. But that's, you know, to give you this whole background story in a sense. But now it feels great because we're out of that, and we're, you know, when I met you guys yesterday, I was pulling decor and just putting it on the dock. Now it's like it's all the aesthetics. It's all the icing. We're at the icing. And will another hurricane come and bust our ass? Very possibly, man. Likely. But we're up, we're elevated. But, you know, my dad rebuilt this place 4 times. And I remember coming in for the week. I was in college one of the times. I'd come down from Baton Rouge and help on the weekends. But it was never like really my problem, you know. And then it became, again, I got what I asked for, right? So you just prepare for that. And I think that's what's beautiful about living in this place, and what we're sharing with the world and all who come to visit here is a truly unique American culture.
Sure.
You know, and this South Louisiana, the Cajun way of life, and this all started from what my family and my Papa Tofield was doing as his leisure time, you know. And we love it so much. Our way of life is so in danger and so threatened that we want to bring people here to fall in love with it. You know, so we want to make sure you get all the food. We can give you the full Cajun immersion, the food, the hospitality, the charm of just, I'm not doing anything right now. God's doing that. Look at this. We just built a little nice window to look through it. You know,
that's exactly right.
It's wonderful out here. And it's a place that raises fighters. You know, we don't have a levee that protects this community. The largest pumping station in the world is 10 miles north of here, and it pumps water from every storm. Everything inside of those levees gets pumped out of here. So Hurricane Ida was just as much a man-made disaster as a natural disaster. There's a lot of things that are against us in this community. And that's not like it's just a realistic way to look at it. But the reason I'm still here is because I believe in it. And because I love to see what my sons are becoming at their young age already from the adversity that they were here gutting this place with me. They're so tough already from having to have been tested, you know, and it's just, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't want to go live in a neighborhood and safe.
Well, you don't have that sense of entitlement. You weren't just handed a set of keys and said, here, son, go have a great and prosperous life. You know?
Right.
I mean, and there, you know, you saw the hard work that your granddad and your dad put into this to make it to what it was.
Yeah.
And then, okay, like you said, you know, adversity happened. Right. You overcome it. Now it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to be able to carry that torch is wonderful.
Yeah,
you know, I've got 2 young sons, 15 and 12. You know, Tofield the 5th. I didn't want to be the one to stop that namesake. That's right. And my wife's Irish, so we named our younger son Jameson. But yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, man. And it's a wonderful thing. But so, you know, I really appreciate you guys being here and even taking the time to sit down and you know, let me kind of tell my story. But, and, you know, in this lodge, like I said, you know, and for you to kind of mirror the sentiments, to know that the things that I want for this place are working, you know, the staff. And I because I believe very firmly, you know, you got so many places just in this community where you can go fishing. Okay. So I got to play what's my strong suit. So the experience, you know, everything that I can control, from how that lodge looks, is it clean, were you treated with respect, were you taken care of, were you fed good food, did the fishermen try? I won't lose you. I believe this. I won't lose guests on a bad fishing trip because of conditions. I'll lose them on a bad captain's attitude. I'll lose them on a dirty room, a bad meal, poor attitude from any staff. That's what I'll lose you on. But if everything here is good. I know that we can't control the day on the water. Y'all came and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour. It's wild, man. It's March.
But we still caught fish.
Yes, thank God. Thank God, dude.
We ain't at work.
It's rough. And look, March and April it's challenging because the good weather, we all want to get ready to start fishing because we can't hunt no more. And it's like this law. It's like deer season's over, turkey season ain't started yet. Well, now it has. But it's like, what are we doing? We can't do nothing, right? And you go out there and you got fronts rolling in still. But you do have some good weather. March and April, there's good fishing to be had. But you're seeing like right now, I woke up, I had frost on my truck. Yep. You're still dealing with the last little breaths of winter, you know?
Well, you know, you was talking about you wanted to bring it from people from all over different parts of the country. You know, Skylar, we've met people here in the lodge because right now the NCAA basketball tournament just started, and it's been freaking awesome in the community room out there with these other guys watching the basketball.
You got to be careful who you're pulling for and who you're pulling against. We had people from Maine and Wisconsin and Arkansas and Alabama and Georgia. I mean, there's people literally
Georgia got
all
beat
over
last
the country.
night, by the way. Just saying.
But the Auburn Tigers won last night, so
Come on.
you know that it was a good day for the good guys. But
Nice.
You know, before we kind of get off into the I guess the other parts of this episode, I would get in trouble with my wife if I didn't ask some questions. So I guess I need to know what your Pinterest login is because like you got some pretty cool decor.
Okay, I got you.
Like the fishing rod,
The
chandelier and the reels.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some really cool, like unique. I guess you would say like
outboard motors,
decor of like Louisiana-ish, like hunting cap-ish.
Yeah. That's all custom. So that's all built here. So all the woodwork, like I said, like anything you see in there, like the I don't know if you noticed the countertops with the old lures sunk in. That's sinker cypress that I'll pull out the swamp. You see them two logs out there right now? So I got a sawmill. I'll mill them down, let them dry, and then that becomes my stock to create whatever.
I just like the kitchen or I call them kitchen tables. You know, the tables we eat at
doors.
are the doors. You know that's just so
cool. I'll give you a funny story about that, man. Those doors. So I bought those. Those are from. There's a lot of reclaimed lumber places around here from houses in the city. Yep. So I went by like just some cool looking, unique doors. Those were going to be the doors for the bathrooms in each of those 6 rooms downstairs, and that was before I realized they needed to be 36 inches wide for handicap access, ADA. So I was like, well, I got these doors. I was like, let's make them tables. And I had started getting into messing with epoxy and stuff. But dude, so my wife and my 2 sons, that whole hangar was like loaded up with these tables. But I made about every mistake you could make. If you ever want to do an epoxy project, call me. I'll give you a list of what not to do. Like
school of hard knocks.
Dude, good thing doors got 2 sides, bro, because I messed them up. Like, it was every step to make. I remember I was mixing. I had used one epoxy the first time, and I used a little drill to mix it up. And I got this other brand the second time, and I didn't bother reading the instructions. And I got my drill, mixing it up, doing all this, and I start mixing it. And my wife is like, "Don't you want to read the instructions?" I was like, "It's a different brand, same stuff, whatever. AB 1-to-1, yeah, you know." And I'm mixing it up, man. And I got it in my hand. I'm like, this thing getting hot. I'm like, it's getting real hot. Like, so I was like, man, it's a chemical reaction, no big deal. So I'm pouring it on the table, and I'm like, it's smoking, and it's turning yellow. And I'm like, all right, this ain't right. So I'm like, well, this one's messed up. It's like yellow, bubbling, smoking, all that stuff. So I read the instructions, I pull them out, and it's like, under no circumstance, use a mechanical mixing apparatus. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll read the instructions.
Yes.
Step 2.
But no, man, the guys you saw with me here yesterday, my 2 older cousins. So, all right, that's my cousins, Lee and Irvin. That's other bourgeois. So in our family, there's a lot of carpenters, just a lot of creativity, man. So I'm blessed to have those genes in me. But those 2 guys have been by my side through this whole rebuild. They both retired crane operators. Okay. And they like getting out the house and being creative, man. Now they were here from all the nasty stages. They did all that. And then when we got to the point where we can like have fun, creative projects, that's when it was cool, man. Cause that chandelier you're talking about, Lee came in one day with this light fixture. I'll never forget, because I had that whole hangar there was full of all the decor we pulled out of the lodge. So to say the least, I didn't need more stuff, right? So he's got this chandelier from his brother's house. They were gutting his brother's house. He's like, man, I thought you might like this for the lodge. And I'm thinking, oh God, yeah, put it in the pile. I was like, I'm trying to get rid of stuff. I don't need it, but I want to be nice. So he's like, yeah, you might, if you want it somewhere. So like a couple of days later, he comes in. He's like, man, I was watching this show, and they had this cabin, and there was like this fishing pole chandelier. I want to make you one. So he went grab that chandelier he brought from his brothers, and he sets it up, and he grabs some rods, and he starts cutting them. And I remember I went hurried up and grabbed those pin offshore rods that you see on that big chandelier now. I grabbed them because I'm like, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't want him to cut these, right? So I like grabbed these, put them in a closet, and then I gave him a bunch of other old ones. I was like, all right, use these, because I'm not sure what he's going to be making yet, right? So he starts piddling around with it. I set him up this table in the cabinet shop, and dude, he just starts going to town. And he makes this thing, and it's the one that's in the right in the check-in window when you first walk in. Yeah. That little. So it's like you can see it's made off of an existing light fixture. So he made that, and then I was like, okay, he passed the test. Not that I doubted him, but I guess I did. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what's going to come of this. I trust
you, but
yeah. So, because I wanted to make a big ship's wheel chandelier with those pin rods, what you see in the dining room now.
Sure.
So he made that, and I was like, well, I've got my own projects. When am I realistically going to get to this? So I was like, look, Lee, here's this ship's wheel. Use these rods. Like, go to town. Like, I want a chandelier out of this. And same thing, dude. He just put that together, and he texts me his list. He's like, I need some wire. I need some copper wire to wrap, like all this stuff. I get him his supplies, and he come in there and make it, dude. And so all the light fixtures in there, everything. That's my favorite part of this place is designing the space. So like just like we were doing on the dock yesterday. I spend more time building things to make this place memorable and aesthetically pleasing and charming than I do fishing, honestly.
One of my, I guess, childhood idol fishermen would be Bill Dance. So, go fishing, hurrying up there to eat lunch, go in the bathroom, wash the fish off my hands. And anyway, I just happened to turn and look, and when I turn and look, there's a Tennessee Bill Dance hat on the wall. Mm-hmm. But underneath the Bill Dance hat, there is a toilet seat, just on the wall in this little, like I guess you would say frame, but no glass. And it said Bill Dance broke my toilet seat, and it's got his signature on it, and he signed the Tennessee hat. And I just thought, man, that is the coolest thing ever. My wife probably wouldn't appreciate a Bill Dance hat hanging above a toilet seat in the bathroom for your decor, but me, that's like what is more American than a Bill Dance Tennessee hat? And I don't even like Tennessee. It's that old puke orange. It's the wrong color.
If they had a different on,
if Bill Dance had an Auburn hat on, I mean, I would vote him in for president. I'd just write him in for all the presidential elections, But anyway, like I said, I mean, that stuff like that is just unique. You don't get to see it, and I guess that would be people around my age or people around our area. If Bill Dance is coming down here to fish with you, y'all know what you're doing.
Uncle Bill and my dad became close friends, man. And late in his life, he took Bill out quite a few times to the islands in the seaplane, did some bass fishing with him, did some red fishing with him. I think Bill had the saltwater series that he was doing. And yeah, I see him every year at ICAST. He's up there, man. He's I don't know if he's is he still filming or not?
I don't know if he's still doing shows or not.
He's
but still, and that's something else too that I don't know if people knows that y'all do, and I don't think y'all still do it anymore. But they used to take people out in seaplane out to these out to the bayous and out to these shallow waters and let them wade and fish for these redfish and stuff.
That was such a fun experience. We kept it going for 5 years after my dad passed away, but it became dude, it's so expensive.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm not a pilot.
air fuel, and pilot. My
Yeah,
God.
so it just doing the numbers for a few years, it wound up and under what we do, like the FAA, we just had to replace the engine and the insurance and the cost. I was just like, I really wanted to keep it alive because I fell in love with it, and I got to where I was really heavily considering learning to fly and doing it. It's beautiful, it's a one of a kind thing, but. Had to really, once you look at the numbers, it's like, look, that part of the operation is really costing this company so much money, and it's not quite bringing in. Once I'm looking at it, it's like I'm not even covering my costs. Matter of fact, I'm like in the red on it. So
yeah, my dad was a crop duster for 40 years, and
I
know about aviation. I know what the cost is. I know everything you're saying. I know everything's exactly.
Those are the cowboys of aviation, man.
They're the kamikazes.
Yeah, right.
Gosh,
like your boy on Independence Day, huh?
You talk about taking airplane trips and wade fishing and stuff. I don't know how these two guys feel about it. Obviously, you've done it, and your family does it, and there's obviously other people that have done it. But if I'm going to take that airplane anywhere around here after what I saw yesterday, I mean, we're going to have a canoe ratchet strapped to the side of that thing. I'm not getting in that water. We saw about a 12-foot alligator.
There was an alligator bigger than Will yesterday.
Don't worry about
belly flop off the bait.
Don't worry about the alligators, man. Worry about the sharks. You just see the sharks out there.
I don't trust.
I'm glad we didn't see that.
I don't trust anything.
But they got them. They got them. You just can't see them in that brown water. They up this north.
That doesn't have thumbs or shoulders. Snakes, sharks.
I hear you. Yeah, the alligators are surprisingly docile, with the exception of like mating season and guarding their nest. You'd be amazed at how close I get to them in the water when I'm logging, and you just got to know the time of year. They're not like crocodiles. They're not like these big. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's not something we ever hear about it. If you look in the news, like you don't even see it. It's a super rarity. You got to be really in the wrong place at the wrong time, kind of thing. But not to say, look, they're dinosaurs, all right. Like you should definitely respect them for sure. But yeah, man. So it's a fun way to make a living and to kind of share your way of life with the world. Out here, it really is.
And me and Will we've talked on the phone several times, and looking around, there's all kinds of musical equipment here, and Will has just he's made the trip, if you will. After we got done fishing, we go to a pawn shop and look around for guitars. And
really,
we're going to all these.
Is that why you asked about a pawn shop? I didn't know if you were just like joking or like why. I was like, I don't know what he said. Something about sunglasses, right?
Well, he already got his sunglasses, but anyway, we go into town yesterday and just start riding around looking at different pawn shops, and Will comes up with a guitar, and I'm like, "Did you forget your guitar?" And my mind starts rolling. I'm like, "This dude is going to Louisiana from South Georgia to play a show, and he didn't even bring a guitar." And it turns out, well, you go ahead and tell the story.
The guys brought the guitar. So the rest of the guys they drove up last night, and then we'll play tonight in Alexandria. But yeah, we went bouncing around from pawn shop to pawn shop. And finally, I run into one, and they had a bunch of acoustics hanging on the wall. None of them had 6 strings on them. And I looked at the guy, and I was like, "Hey, look, it's obvious these things have a half an inch of dust on them." I was like, "What you coming off of the price?" And he goes, $10. I said, "We need to find a new pawn shop." so we go down the road, and we're looking, and there's a God, it's got to be 30 years old. It's a Titleist Sure Shot putter in this one pawn shop we go in, but it's the Coca-Cola edition. It's got Coca-Cola engraved in the back of a gold putter.
All right.
Red paint in the letters. Like, it's old. And I look, and I look at the lady, and I was like, "What can you do on this guitar?" She's like, "We just got that guitar." And I was like, "Well, that's cool. What can you do on it?" And she was like, "I can sell it to you at no tax." And I looked at her, and I said, "Can you throw this putter in with it?" And she's like, "Sure." And I was like, you got a deal. I walked out and I'm holding the putter, and he's like, I think you're more excited about the putter than you are the guitar. And I looked at him, I said, I just got me $100 putter and a free guitar. I was like, I could care less about the guitar, but the putter is where it's at. But
Nice.
we brought it back and played around a little bit yesterday, but
Oh, come on, man.
Well, tell about what you do with the guitars and stuff. Not
So,
these guitars.
well, like the guitar yesterday, there's no telling where it'll wind up. Like, it served its purpose. They're doing a big giveaway with the buck truck, and it'll probably wind up in the buck truck. But every night that we play a show, so me and my guitar player Benji was running down the road because since American Idol, we've just had this opportunity to just travel a lot.
Nice, man.
We're running up and down the interstate one day, and we were just talking, just like us sitting here today, just shooting the bull, you know. And it come up, it's like, you know, I didn't pick up a guitar till I was 19 or 20
Oh, really?
because nobody in my family played music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just, and none of their fault, of course, you know, but they just had no interest in it. No one ever had learned, and so it just wasn't a thing. We didn't have instruments laying around, and so I started playing, and it's like, you know, what if we had the opportunity to put that guitar in a kid's hands earlier than that?
Love it.
And so we're getting the opportunity to go out and play, and coming off of American Idol, it's a very family friendly show.
Right.
So we have a lot of people coming and going that are, you know, like they bring families to the show. Like, we see a lot of kids, and so it's like every night that we play a show that has kids in the audience, we're going to bring a kid up on the stage and give them a guitar.
That's wonderful, man.
And so we've started doing this, and we've started working with this company out of Texas called Walden Guitars. And Paul is the utility man. So he's the tour manager, production manager, advanced contact. He runs day to day. He does, like, his list of jobs is as long as my leg. And so he owns a music store. And so he hooked me up with the guys at Walden, and we got to talking with them, and man, they have been awesome. And we actually I found out either this morning or last night, I don't remember which conversation it is, but Walden's talking about starting to do, so this guitar that we've been giving away the same model, and it's a smaller guitar, but which makes it perfect for kids. But they're talking about, like, starting almost like a Will Moseley line of those guitars.
Yeah.
And they'll sell them on their side, you know, but that'll be the guitars that we're giving away as almost this, like, special run of guitars. And so, man, we're just extremely excited about that. But like this guitar, I don't even know if we have one of the Waldens on the trailer. We've been giving them away so fast because we've just, here lately, it just seems like every night there's kids. And then we've run into a couple of situations where guy up in Georgia, his dad just got diagnosed with cancer, and so they have this big, like, four-wheeler buggy. We call them buggies there, but it's like Rangers and side by sides, you know. And they do this big ride, and so we give one of those away there. Signed it and auctioned it off, and you know, for us, whatever that guitar costs us coming in, if we can give it to them and let them auction it. For us, it only costs us a little bit, but that little bit of sacrifice that we get to pay for, you know, and then give it away, and it turns into making that family an extra $3,000, you know. That's what makes it so special for us. It's just having that opportunity to help somebody out.
100%.
You know,
well, and not just helping somebody out, like you could be helping, like, a generation, like a family name out, and that's what music and sports and, you know, karate. I don't care what you get your kid into. Being a teacher and a coach, you need to have your kid doing something. I don't care what it is.
Absolutely.
And
you know, he was talking about this earlier, you know, about following up, you know, selling the tattoo shop and coming here and making sure this goes forward, you know, and then having your kids right smack dab in the middle of it and learning everything, you know. And for you, it's a part of your family.
Yeah.
But for me growing up, it was a part of sports,
Mhm.
and now it's a part of music. But it's all about being a part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And like
man.
for you, you're the fourth, with your son being the fifth generation of a name.
Right.
And like that's a legacy that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
Like when people
Big
hear your name, if they're not looking at you, they may think they're talking about your dad, or if they're old enough, it might
I
be your
have that
granddad. You
all
know
the
what I'm
time.
saying?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
like that's so cool that you have that opportunity to be a part of that legacy that's so
Yeah.
much bigger than yourself.
Yeah, big time.
But it's also a responsibility at the same time. And that's something that like for us, we've found ourselves in this spot of like, all right, well, if we're going to do that and open our arms to kids and try to pay that forward and pass that along, then the show also has to reflect a certain sense of, and I'm not saying, straight and narrow by the book, never stray from the line, but we also have to keep in mind when we're putting together a run of show, how we're going to be kid friendly. And like the other night, we played a show in Georgia, and there was right at 3,000 people in the middle of a street block.
Oh wow!
And we had an absolute blast. And there's kids all over the front of the stage. And what was so cool to me was, and it was one of those moments of like, all right, you might be doing it right, is the kids in the front row. I mean, I'm talking like 6, 7-year-old kids. They were having a blast from start to finish.
Yeah.
And then you look somewhere around the middle to the back, and it's the older crowd sitting in their lawn chairs, and they had a blast from start to finish. And so it's like, all right, now we're reaching the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's so in the music world, and you get this play music, that's really hard to do.
Dude,
it's hard to cater to all different ages and outlooks, and and that's something that's so hard to do. But it's been fun, like figuring that out.
It's incredible because, like you said, you might spark that interest in music in that kid, kid. Like somebody's gonna be inspired by what you're doing. And I've even had that experience where I had that realization, because a lot of the shows we play are in bars, but then we play these festivals, especially locally, and all these kids come up and they're like screaming, like they're like TJ. People call me TJ. They'll come to the merch table and they want stuff, and I've had to reconsider my whole my lyrical content, because I'm like, wait a minute, I cursed in some of my lyrics. I got now, and I'll even tell the parents, I'm like, hey man, I'm really sorry. And they're like, it's okay. But now, when I write, I think about that a lot more, because I'm like, I didn't realize I was such a role model to other people's kids.
Yeah,
I know, my kids I'm raising, and look, being a tattoo and fisherman, you kind of get a potty mouth, all right?
It happens.
But now it is a thing. So I really relate with you talking about the youth coming to the shows. I'm like, okay, I didn't know this. I need to reconsider, be a role model.
We played a show the other night, and one of my songs is called "Fishing for a Living."
Yeah.
And
cool, man.
And it's funny because now I've had the chance to go and play with Zach Brown, and awesome guy. We've got a. It's early on friendship, but it's starting to grow,
Sure.
And when I wrote the song, I was thinking about his song, and I said, I'm gonna put my toes in the water, my ass in the sand. And I remember that when I was writing that, I was thinking, I wonder if I could get in trouble for this. And I kept going. I was like, well, if I do, maybe I'll get to talk to him for him to tell me I was wrong. I shouldn't have done it,
Yeah, right.
I'm like, that's where I was at when I wrote it. But then now I've got to play a couple shows with him. He's an awesome guy, and nothing's ever been said about it, of course. But I was playing a show a couple weeks ago, and there was this group of kids right down there, and they were all little. And I remember looking at them. I said, I'm going to put my toes in the water, man. In the sand.
Yeah.
I turned my head and come back into the mic, and I was
do that same thing. That's awesome.
It cracked me up, because I was like, they listen to that song on Spotify all the time, and they probably sing every word of it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to turn my head and act like I'm not really saying it.
Yep.
And I did it the whole song, and it cracked me up to get to that point.
That's funny.
Well, even in mine and Skylar's professional career, we both teach school for a living. He's at a local high school, and then I'm in a community college where we both live. And man, you can't walk through Walmart. I mean, everybody knows who you are based off of your profession.
Right.
And so we're not in the spotlight like what you guys are talking about, but we still are in a way because we're trying to mold the youth.
Well, there's kids that y'all are around every day, man. Like some of my biggest influences were teachers that I had, and there's people.
My biggest one was his dad. His dad was my ag teacher.
Oh, come on.
And I mean, gosh almighty, man, me and his dad.
I tell everybody that the one of the best benefits of being a elementary school teacher, and I'm a PE teacher, so I'm 99.9% of the kids in elementary school, PE's their favorite class. What's your favorite class? PE. Nobody says math or science or English or anything like that, And, you go to Walmart and the kids see you at Walmart or Piggly Wiggly or in town somewhere at Burger King, McDonald's or whatever, and they're like, Coach Ray, what are you doing here?
What are you doing out of school?
Yeah, like they can't wrap their brain around. I don't live in that gym, and they come up and give you a hug or give you a high five or whatever, and the older kids, the middle school kids, are like, oh, there's Coach Ray, and they like go, hey, Mom, let's go over here. I want someone on the other side, And the high school kids, they kind of come back around, but middle school, they're a little too cool for school. But
that's right.
Just being able to coach those kids and what we're doing now with TC Duck Club and we're having all these guys like Will and Sam Hunt and all these big name famous people. He was on American Idol. And
that's fun. So I never saw it, right? Like full disclosure, but I listened to your music yesterday. It was awesome. So Josh calls me. He's like, "Hey man, are you gonna be around? I want you to meet somebody." And I knew Josie had told me, gave me your info. So I was making sure I was around because I wanted to do this. And she's great. She's like, this guy he's got a podcast. He's all the stuff. Let me check it out. But so anyway, I thought he said Bill Moseley. Right? Is your name William?
William.
Okay, so I don't know if you know this or you probably do. There's a dude, Bill Moseley, who's like a horror actor. Yes. Are you familiar with him? Like House of a Thousand Corpses and stuff. So like I look up Bill Moseley and I'm like, it's like he's got that guy with him. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, all right, cool. But yeah, he's like, no man, he's a singer. I was like, okay, I got you. Okay, that's why
we won't have anything to do with horror. My wife starts watching all this Ted Bundy stuff and all this stuff around Halloween. Like Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix. And I'm like, if I get hacked up, I'm like calling on my buddy. This little bitty woman is like, I don't know if she's planning something, but
women love true crime. My wife got me. I told her, I was like, look, I can't watch no more of this stuff, bro. It's like too much garbage.
To watch horror movies and stuff like that because I'm in a deer stand and I hear a twig break. Oh, dude, I'm in full drawdown.
I've drawn down on so many ghosts in the woods, dude. Like I walk with a pistol. No lie. Like when I walk to my stand, I got like my rifle on my back, but I'm like.
Got my glove.
Well, y'all got the Rougarou down here.
Y'all got all kinds of stuff down here. And that's what we was talking about yesterday with Captain Josh. I said, you know why you don't make a Cajun mad, don't you? He said, why is that? I said, you end up back here in this bayou fed these gators.
Yeah, that's right.
But man, it's
don't make a Cajun woman.
Okay, there you go.
Look, don't make a redneck woman mad.
That's right.
My wife, like, she's tiny. Like, I don't know what this
that's the dangerous
definition.
Ones.
I mean, she's just tiny, but now, she can hold her own because she obviously lives with me, and she makes me walk a pretty straight line. I always said, I just think it's crazy, to have a house that you can't live in. But now I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many times my wife will be sitting at the kitchen table and we'll be eating dinner and like just in mid conversation, and she'll just get up and start washing the dishes. I'm like, can't you finish eating before you clean something? Like the other morning she was out there, it was 38 degrees, and she's out there with a water hose and Windex washing the windows on the back porch. Like, why? I mean, my buddies wouldn't notice a dead skunk on the table. But anyway, like I said, it's just been a great trip, and to get to meet you and see this beautiful place.
Thanks, man.
Y'all call home and be able to go fishing yesterday. I mean, this is not a normal day for us, and my old boy's on spring break, and we were able to fit it in with Will, and come down. He's more of a fisherman, I guess, than I am, and Keith likes to fish a lot more than I do. But this was just as much fun as we could possibly imagine. I mean, the weather wasn't great, but we still managed to scratch out a few fish, and the food was unbelievable. But I just hope the people that's watching this understand the quality of service that they're going to get, and the quality of experience that they're going to get, and really how awesome both of you guys are. I mean, again, you didn't have to sit down with us and do this, and
Happy to.
Will didn't either, and we really appreciate it, because all over the world, there's people that don't get to experience the freedom of the United States, and all the many blessings that God has bestowed on us, and just really get to take part in something like this, and hopefully if they get to travel, that they can check Louisiana off their bucket list, because the people down here are just phenomenal. And
I agree, man. I think so.
It's a good time, and like I said, if you get a chance, make sure you go out to a show and listen to Will Moseley. I'm trying to figure out his code on his iPhone so I can send a couple files. I've kind of fell in love with some of his new stuff, and I can't wait for him to come out, so we can stream them and put them on a playlist. But you guys, I can't tell you how much we appreciate y'all sitting down with us and doing this podcast. And like I said, Will's a little more humble than what he wants to admit. He was
That's good.
I don't see this
said
bad.
something.
Yeah, right.
He said something to one of my buddies. He said, we had a guy come by and drop off some merchandise to go in this truck that we're giving away. And anyway, he drops off these turkey blinds or whatever, and he says something to Will about being famous or being on American Idol, or I don't remember exactly what he said, but Will said, I ain't famous. He said, ain't nobody knows who I am very much except right around my hometown. He said, I just
Hey, Josh knew who you were, boy.
I just hope to get there. Well, that's what I was thinking.
Josh
Knew exactly who he was. The guys up here in the
awesome.
Knew who he was.
When we
sunglass guy knew who he was.
When we stopped at the outdoor store on the way down in Birmingham, I mean, those guys knew exactly who he was.
That's cool. I judge how famous somebody is based off Michael Jordan and Little Debbie. So, I mean, he's got big shoes. So everybody knows who Little Debbie is. You know what I mean? But,
all too well, unfortunately.
I know her better than I need to.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you get as big as Michael Jordan and Little Debbie, we can look back on this and just smile. He'll probably forget who we are. But,
that's awesome.
Like I said, he is a super good guy, and we've had a good time. And I can't tell you how much we really appreciate
man.
how you treated us and how you
Thanks for coming.
My son.
Hospitality's awful.
We'll get out of your hair, but
thank you so much. No, thank y'all, man. Will, great meeting you, my brother. Nice meeting you guys. Yes, hey, and I saw that Zebco you brought down for little man. Why they do you like that, bro? Next time y'all come, let me know. I'll get you a ride set up. You got the zip ties on it.
Yeah, you got it.
Dang. Now wait. Was that some character building? We missing the character? I see the button was falling off. This is okay. Your dad was trying to teach you.
No, we actually got broke into. While we were on vacation a couple years ago, we had some lowlifes come in and steal all of our fishing rods and our all my guns. We didn't have pillowcases or groceries or anything, and it was actually a guy.
Not the groceries, not the Little Debbie.
They got come on, man. I was okay with my family heirloom shotguns and this and that, but when I realized that they'd stole my Little Debbies, man, I started to break down and cry a little bit. But
that's disrespectful.
Anyway, they broke in and stole everything we owned. So, I just didn't replace, the old button Zebco. And that's kind of, I got some 33s and got a few trigger 11s that we probably fish with. But, as far as just the bit, we replaced them with open face spinning reels. And anyway, we get ready to go. And I knew we would be untangling a mess all day in 30-mile-an-hour wind with an 11-year-old kid trying to throw a spinning reel. So I called one of my dad's old fishing buddies, and he sends us down here with two 808s.
Come on.
And they're, I guess that'd be a 16-16. But
With two 808s,
I seen that big
16.
bad boy.
But anyway, like I said, I don't think they were up to snuff to be using all day long. But the zip ties did hold, and
It ain't coming off.
we caught the fish, so I guess that
You caught one with it? Did he catch one with that rod?
no, we actually caught it with the spinning reel, but I let him land it and get it in the boat, and he got his picture made with it. So I guess he's gonna claim that one. So I don't know.
Yeah, man.
We had a heck of a good time, but again, we really appreciate you having us down.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to have y'all. Y'all could have bid on anybody's trip, and I'm happy y'all chose us.
Yeah.
And I think it's. Tell the world, tell your friends. If you had a good time, leave us a Google review. If you got any complaints, keep that to yourself. All right? Don't say nothing.
The only complaint is, we don't get to bring your kitchen staff home with us.
Dude, y'all got to come back, man. Like, look, Will, you got to come back. Let's do some music in there, man.
We'll do it.
I'm going to send you, I'll get all y'all info, man, and I'll send you some links to the series that I got out, and I think you'd be a really cool fit. We'll get you down, get you on the bayou, do some fun stuff, maybe write a song together about it.
I promise you this. We stay gone from home a lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the nature of the business.
Of course.
But that's what I was telling them yesterday. I was like, what's so cool is to find these opportunities where you leave a day early.
Yeah.
And you get to come down here and go fishing.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't 35-mile-an-hour wind. I had a blast. Like, if
right,
I'm on the water, I'm happy.
Yeah,
and so, like, man, it was, and I wanted to say this before they wrapped it up or whatever, but I got to come here as a true guest.
Uh-huh.
And I go to a lot of places and see a lot of different setups and things. And I'll tell you, this is one of the top notch, one of the best places
Thanks,
I've been.
man. I appreciate it.
On a serious note, I would love to come back.
Well, you coming back, brother.
Let's do it.
We're going to rock out, dude.
That's right.
I'll get you in here.
Sir.
You be writing songs about the bayou before
That's
you
what
know
I'm
it.
talking about.
But see, and one other thing. So to set it up, we've mentioned the bad weather. The sun was shining, but the day before it was 80 degrees.
Yeah.
And then yesterday it didn't ever get above 50.
Mm-hmm.
And the wind was at gusts of 30. Minimum
frost
like
on the
18
truck
mile
today.
an hour, steady 18 gusts to 30. But your guides got us in places and got us out of the wind where we could still fish. So, I mean, it's just like when we traveling and duck hunting, you got to stay a couple of days to hit it because you're going to get different weather. It's just one thing.
You've seen the movie or the show Lost and Afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I looked at Will and said, "How are we getting out of here?
Oh,
Right. Where are we at? How and I started looking around.
Follow the line on his GPS. That's about it.
But man, I started getting a little uneasy.
Sure.
I ain't walking out of there. That foot tears up. I thought we had cell phone service. I check it every once in a while. I'm like, I ain't getting in that water.
Oh, you'll be all right.
But yeah, this is as top notch as it can get, and
right here we have NewOrleansFishing.com.
Well, I guess that'll just about do it for another episode of Talking Quack and Smack with TC Duck Club. Y'all stay with us. We'll keep killing them.